Welcome to the Santa Medoro timer.
Are we in? Okay, they can hear us, Gerald.
They should be able to hear us right now.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to Teacher and Quarantine Talk Show. And today we're 89 and
Today we're gonna discuss about how we can make studying fun and easy, as well as tips, tricks, and myths about it.
great. So, that's our topic today, and we have a very special guest today with us. So, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Adeline Gracia Nighty. I'm currently in year 9. Thank you guys for having me, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, that's great. So that's great. So sorry, I was just double checking if people can hear us or not. Looks like you can. I can hear myself too. So today we're going to be talking about how to study, some studying myths that some people might have about studying, maybe studying superstitions. Like example, if you take hair from the smartest student in your class and then like make some sort of brush out of it, you'll get good grades, stuff like that. So let's get started. How about we get to our first question of the day. Oh wait, before we actually start, how have you been, Adeline?
I've been good. I've been really good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I mean, kinda. I'm doing fine, grade 9's pretty tough. How's your studying going? Have you been keeping consistent? Have your grades either declined or stable, or maybe even gotten better since quarantine started?
I think my grades have been stable. I wouldn't say they're the best grades. I definitely could improve on some of them, but I think they're pretty okay.
That's great. Yeah, for me, it's like been like a roller coaster. How about you, Gerald? How have your grades been?
Well, last year it wasn't as good. It declined because my focus shifted, since you had to like readjust to everything, especially with online learning. But then I think in grade year 8 I started to catch up again, and it's now better and the same like elementary, which is good in a way.
Wow, elementary even.
Yeah.
Smart kid, great. So Gerald, how about you go and ask her what we've prepared, like our question.
Okay, so Alan, the first question we want to ask you is, according to your opinion, what is studying exactly, and how is one supposed to study?
I think for studying is obviously like learning the material that you need to learn for whatever reason, either for like a test or just to study in general. And I don't think there is a certain routine or way that one is supposed to study. That depends on themselves and their needs for their studying. And I think that's all.
What is your preferred method of study?
I like to take notes and summarize the lesson and highlight the material if there is through text. Pretty standard.
I see. Yeah, that's what I do too. Wait, so for the viewers who don't know who Adeline is, I kind of forgot to mention that part. Why are we even interviewing her, right? Well, basically, she's an amazing person, and she has amazing grades. That's why we're interviewing her, because we wouldn't just be interviewing anyone, We're interviewing this girl. So, yeah, she's I'm not going to talk about ranking, but let's just say she's a great student. She's good. So there you guys, if you have any, trust issues and following our talk shows and following our tips, there you go. So, Gerald, what's your preferred method of studying?
I think it would be the same as Alan. I like to make summaries. So you take the materials from the lesson, and you summarize them in your own words. I find it always better to summarize in your own words, because then you'll understand it more, because it's in your own words. For example, let's say 1 plus 1. The general thing would just be 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? But then, for example, you say 1 plus 1, and for example, in your own words, it's like there's 1 stick and 1 stick. The total is 1 and 2, something like that. And then sometimes I'd also like to use games, because then it's also entertaining. Like, for example, Kahoot or quizzes. Something like that.
I agree with you.
What about you, Yesa?
what do you call that? Overachiever, but that's like extra effort. You go to making a Kahoot for yourself.
No,
Wow.
it's like that's only rarely though. I go to Kahoot, then if I'm bored, I search up the materials. For example, digestive system, and then
I
it
see.
goes there. You can practice yourself, and then there's also the
Yeah.
answer sheet, so you can see the answers in the end. What about your preferred method of study?
So, I'll first say what's studying to me actually.
Yeah.
So that you get like, I mean, what's studying to you actually, Gerald? What do you think studying is to you?
It's more than just memorizing stuff, because usually um, most lessons require to memorize formulas or maybe text materials, history or something. But I think it's more than that. It's also understanding it and like having to knowing how to apply it in our daily lives. For example, if it's history, we can learn from the past, and then if it's biology, we can know. For example, if we have a stomach ache, why is the cause, and then how we can fix it, something like that. So it's really just understanding the material
Yeah.
than just memorizing it.
I agree. I think studying is more than just memorizing, and more than just actually studying from your textbooks, but it's something more like trying to understand the concept and reviewing and doing, what do you call that, active recalling method. Later
Yeah.
on, we'll go more into studying methods, or like we'll go deeper into studying methods that we prefer or studying methods that we know. But for me, the studying methods that I use is listening during the class. I try to listen to your class as good as possible. I mean, I try to listen as well as possible. Don't know if that's bad grammar, but what I usually do is in the class, I listen to the teacher and I take notes while the teacher's talking. For example, during biology, I really like biology. It's my favorite subject. Hi, Mr. Greg. So, when I'm in biology, I usually take notes, and I take notes of the slides. And sometimes I write everything that he writes in the slides, but then I stop myself and I look at the slides and I'm like, wow, there's so many words. I'm not going to write that all down in my notes. So I write everything, I read the whole sentence, and then I write it in my own words in my notes. So that, first of all, it's my own thing. And like Gerald said, it's also easier to remember, right? So, and if it gets more deeper into the lesson and it starts getting so complicated and we're going through the lesson like flash, and there's so many words, I just stop taking notes and try to listen to the teacher. And then I'll be like, okay, I'll make a note, go back to this slide later on to review what does this actually mean. Like, we learned about Golgi apparatus last Friday. I don't even know what it is, so I need to go back and check the slides, right?
Yes.
So that's what I use.
Do you create like your own Google Forms or something, like your own practice for yourself?
No,
No.
no.
Yeah, sometimes I think in year 7 I did, and I shared it with a few of my friends. So I took the material, I made a Google Forms for it, and so I practiced myself, and then I gave it to some of my friends who wanted it, and then yeah, I think it did help. But then most of them, I just took them from the previous quiz or test. So I'm not,
Right.
yeah,
I think
something
I
like
used
that.
to do that in grade 7 too.
I never done that before.
I think it takes a lot of effort, extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You need to read all the material, make sure you
Yeah.
get the correct answers, because I
Yeah.
remember last time when I made the
Yeah.
forms, I picked the wrong answer for the question. So for example, if this is the question, what is 1 plus 1? Instead of 2, I made the correct answer 3. Then one of my friends asked me, wait, Gerald, why is this wrong? And I'm like, I give an entire explanation about it, and then I just realized that it was wrong because I put the wrong number.
Wait, but you know that 1 plus 1 is 2, right?
Yeah. Like for example, the for example, just for example, something like that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna give another example. Okay, great. So, yeah, our studying methods for those who are watching, pretty simple, pretty standard. I mean, most people use them. There are some other studying methods that I do use too, but we'll go deeper into that in a while. So for me, let's talk about one of the biggest struggles for students, which is procrastination, not
Uh-oh.
being disciplined enough, and just not knowing where to start when studying. So let's start with Adeline.
I think procrastination is something that a lot of people struggle with too. I think everybody, it doesn't matter if they're like on the smarter side or if they don't understand the material that well. Procrastination is really difficult and something that I struggle with too. It's mainly because of my lack of motivation in my case. Sometimes I just can't seem to find motivation to start on something, and even if to finish it as well.
Yeah,
So,
good. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So for those who don't know what procrastination is when you decide
To put
to
things off
procrastinate. Yeah, put
until
things
the
Yeah.
off.
last second.
Exactly. Like putting things off and doing something else. And you think, oh, doing this something else is maybe productive, and you trick yourself into thinking it's productive, but it's actually not. Like you're supposed to be studying for a test you have tomorrow, and you haven't studied for it at all. But you decide to go and watch videos about how trees are so tall and strong, Does that make sense? Unless you're gonna have a test about trees, I don't think so. So that's an example of procrastination when you decide not to do your work because you just don't want to, right? So what do you think about how can you fix procrastination, or how can you get better at putting, procrastination out of your life? Basically, how do you build up discipline? Because in order to get rid of procrastination or lessen it, you need to have discipline.
Me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think procrastination, like overcoming procrastination, is definitely not an easy thing to do. And it's not something that you can be able to achieve overnight, overcoming procrastination and finding motivation to do your work and study well. But I think one thing that definitely helps is when you have like found the motivation to study, is to make sure that there are no distractions around you so that you finish studying well rather than studying and then like get distracted by something and then you're procrastinating again.
Yeah, so you talked about having, did you say family motivation?
No.
Sorry, what did you
Motivation to study.
Oh, I thought, okay, wait.
Sorry.
I also heard wrong.
Sorry. Okay, so basically, yeah, you need motivation to study. And after motivation, it's more of having discipline and how to build up discipline, starting from the little things. The little things, that's from smaller things to bigger things. It's gonna be hard when you're first practicing with discipline.
Yeah.
Do you think you have any of it, Gerald or Adeline? Which one of you go first?
Alan can go first.
Sorry, what was the question?
How do you think you have discipline, and how did you develop it in the aspects of studying?
I think I do have discipline, but it's not the most consistent.
Yeah.
If I can say that. And how I've built it up is, I just think about like the future, I guess. Think about like the regret I'll feel if I don't end up doing something. I think that helps me a lot.
I think there was this quote. I think it was in the school. Suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret. I think.
That's a strong one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. That's really good.
And then you asked me about how I discipline myself, right? And how well. I would say I'm not too disciplined myself, because I procrastinate a lot. Sometimes I put things off last second, and then that's why yeah, it started to get like a bit overload, because at one point I had 8 assignments in a week and I just procrastinated the entire week.
Wow.
So I think it's starting to get better now. I'm doing things 2 or 3 days before, maybe a week before. No, not a week. I wouldn't do that because most of my free time I just use for other things. So how I discipline myself is you set a time for you to study, and then you give yourself a little treat after that. I think that's what motivation. Basically, any side of motivation. For example, you say food. For example, you get to eat ice cream. Then you study, but you don't just study quickly. It's not like that. You have to you teach yourself how to be patient as well with yourself. And then when you study, you also have to have like these short breaks in between. For example, 15 minutes study, then 5 minutes, and then 15, and then if you want another break, you can have 10. and then 15, 15 until you've memorized the material. Then you can get your little quote unquote treat.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great way how to do it too. And for those people, some people can study for 4 hours straight, like without breaks. Apparently, people like that exist on this planet. That really amazes me. 4 hours straight, sitting in your seat. Wow, sitting for 2 hours straight is
What's the
already
longest you've gone studying without any breaks?
30 minutes.
I think mine would be like 1 hour.
Yeah, online would be 1 or 2 hours ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
I
it's
usually, well, if you're going to be talking about breaks, I don't really take breaks. It's either, yeah, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes probably.
30 minutes and you just stop, that's it. Leave it.
No. like while I'm studying, example, I usually try and finish each assignment. So no matter how long it takes. So example, if I'm making a summary, okay. So for summaries, it takes me around 2 hours. One time I timed myself and I didn't really take breaks that much during between. So that counts. Not sure.
I think that does.
Yeah, I guess. So, I've wanted to say something before too, but I totally forgot what I wanted to say. So, how about we talk about studying methods that exist? Like, if you've heard of Pomodoro, Gerald briefly mentioned it, and flashlight, I think it's called flashlight technique. Go ahead, Gerald, you start.
I'm not quite sure what the Pomodoro method is.
No, I mean, studying.
My preferred my studying.
Like that and that to work, but maybe you don't personally use it all the time, but at least you know.
I just create my own, I guess. There's I don't really follow other things. I just make my own. For example, I summarize, and then it's basically summarization. I highlight. I just take the breaks in between. There's not really any specific name for that studying method, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you?
Me?
Let's start with Jasa first.
Okay, so the studying techniques that I know of are like Pomodoro, and there was one called medium efficiency, I think, and flashlight technique, I think it was called. Well, there's this YouTuber called, I think her name's Faye Films. She makes these videos about studying, and I find them really helpful because she actually has tips that actually work, and yeah, they're really helpful. So I think it's FAYEFILMS. That's her YouTube channel. Anyways, Pomodoro method is when you study for 25 minutes and you take a break for 5. Study for 25 minutes, take a break for 5, and you can do that for how long you want. And the reason why this method works for people is because when you start studying, you start with that like brain, okay, you're refreshed. It's time to study. And while you're doing those 25 minutes, it's not that long of a time that you have to study within that time. So since you don't have that much time to study within those 25 minutes, like psychologically, I guess, you try to study as much as you can within that short period of time. So when you get to 5 minutes break, yeah, you have a break. But you don't go watch K-drama during that break. You maybe like get a water, go downstairs, walk around your room, to like refresh your brain. And when you start again with the 25 minutes, it's like you started on something new again. It's that new mindset that's gathered. So I really like the Pomodoro method. I've used it a couple of times and I find it like it's actually nice. I'm not saying that I love studying. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't really love it. But in this kind of setting, it's actually not that bad. And I like to do with videos, like on YouTube, Pomodoro videos. So yeah, and other than that, I still have a lot. But how about we let Adeline? What techniques do you know?
I actually only know Pomodoro. I think Pomodoro is really effective because I really agree with what you said, Yisa, with the mindset. Yeah. And I also think that it helps you focus better in those 25 minutes because you have 5 minutes of like refreshment time. Especially if I think like when I study at night, sometimes I get really drowsy. So taking breaks does help. And I think the Pomodoro technique helps you do that. I myself don't really use the Pomodoro technique, but in a sense, I guess I do. I just work until I feel like a little bit tired and then take a break. So it's not
Yeah.
really the Pomodoro technique, but it's kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
What's
So, do you want to say something,
no,
Joe?
no, I was just curious. What's your favorite method of studying?
Me?
Yeah.
I do like the Pomodoro method. Technique. I do use it occasionally, but not all the time.
Okay.
But that is one of my favorites.
Oh, okay. So it's your favorite, but you don't always use it.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay, so before we started, we also talked about how some people like link their emotions to studying. So why don't you elaborate a little bit about that? And
I think that some people they find it easier to remember something when they have like a memory attached to it in a sense. So when, for example, you're in a lesson and then you get a certain feeling from, like when your teacher says something, you feel a certain way, and then that feeling will help you to remember the thing that you're trying to remember in the future because you have a memory link to it, I guess.
yeah, like an emotional link.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I usually do when I'm studying or when I am, especially last minute studying. I really like to use that method because, for example, if I'm really sad, if you're really sad while watching, okay, wait. When I link something with a certain emotion, I remember it easier, but not because of that something that it's linked with, but because of the emotion. Because I remember emotions like easier. Like before I also talked with Adeline. Like it's quite interesting how it happens. It's like this whole psychological thing that I don't know how it works, but it's quite interesting, and you can try it, especially if you're maybe cramming, trying to link your emotions with the certain things that you need to remember so that when you're in the test, you're like, okay, what did I feel while I was studying this? Oh, okay, why did I feel this way? Oh, it's because this said that and that and that. So I guess I kind of recommend it because it kind of does work for me. What do you think, Joel?
Yeah, I think it also works because when you connect something, it automatically like clicks in your head. For example, you okay, this is just an example. I'm not. This is how I think of it. As like this is how I use it sometimes. For example, you're learning biology
Yeah.
about the digestive system, right? And then you get to a point where it says about stomach problems, for example, and about acids and bases. Then you can link it to sometimes I link it to a memory where I got stomach ache. And then when you take the medicine, sometimes it's like if I'm not mistaken, there's like acids and bases, right? And then they make the pH more neutral.
level.
The pH
Yeah,
level more. Wait, if it's higher, it's more acidic, right? Or is it if it's lower?
I thought, isn't it lower? I'm pretty sure when it's higher, it's less acidic.
Yeah, it's a
Isn't
base,
it?
right? Like for example, pH 2, that's acidic, but 9 is more base.
So if I'm not mistaken, water has a pH level of 7.
Yeah, around
So
7.
that's neutral. And then whatever's below that is like sour, like lemon.
So basically the base it like makes it stable. I guess it makes I'm not really sure how it works. But maybe it makes it like stable and stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's why you won't get a stomach ache. And then you can I sometimes link it to that, like from your own experiences. And then you can when you answer a test, then you can also put you can further elaborate on it, like the pain and then the after effects or something like that. That's what I think.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awkward silence. Great. Next question. So, memorizing. Let's talk about memorizing. Asian school, Asian country. We're in Asia. I'm not saying Asia is a place where you memorize, but typically in Asian schools, memorizing is a big thing. And in our school, I'm not saying memorization isn't a big thing, but let's just say we've done a lot of memorization growing up in our school, like memorizing Bible verses, memorizing Bible things, like during Bible class, I remember doing a lot of memorization there. And actually, specifically for Bible, like religious things, like for Bible, since you're Christians, I think it's actually a good thing that you memorize things for the Bible. But I think it's more important to understand it first before you start memorizing. But let's get into that a little bit deeper. So, what do you think about memorization, and how about you start that?
I think memorization, personally, for me, I prefer memorization over understanding. I find understanding is harder for me because memorization, obviously, all the facts are presented to you and all like the methods. You just need to remember those, but for understanding, you need to like sort of already memorize them too and know how to be able to apply the knowledge that you have. So yeah, personally, I prefer memorization over understanding.
Which one do you think is more important?
I actually think understanding is more important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's understanding. I feel like it's a way for you to apply your knowledge, and you will also need to have an understanding of the material to be able to apply in your future, not just in school, but throughout your life too, I think.
Yeah, I definitely understand. So
For me, yeah, I prefer understanding more. Because I think like what Alan said, yeah, understanding is harder because it's like you have to memorize it, then you have to know how to apply it. So, but I usually do understanding because I always want to know the reason behind something. Like I'm always that curious type of person. So when something happens, I always want to know more about it. I think that's why trust issues. Anyway, yeah. Anyways, so when you understand something, then you can like it's easier for you to solve the problem. For example, there's no context if you just I don't know. I wouldn't say there's no context, but for me, if you just memorize something, it doesn't necessarily mean you understand it. For example, 1 times 3 equals 3. If you just memorize that, and they ask 2 times 3, you won't really know how, unless. But I think even if you memorize, you also understand it as well. So I think both methods work.
okay.
But yeah, understanding is better, I guess.
Okay, great. Yeah, for me, it's more understanding. First, I try to understand it, and then I memorize later on because memorization isn't that easy for me. Understanding, I get to link it with like certain emotions and trying to understand what's the meaning behind it. That's why I always ask why in the class. Why is it like this? Why is it like that? And especially math, like in elementary, we learned all these formulas, but I
Yeah.
was like, why is it like this? And then they're just like, well, it's just
It
like
is what
this.
it is.
Yeah, it is what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Exactly. But then, thank God, as I grew up and I understand math a little bit more now, I understand why it's half times base times height is the formula for the area of a triangle. Before, I did not know at all. But then I read a book which actually explained why. So, yeah, that's
Great.
You buy workbook and textbooks and stuff like that.
well, not exactly. I just bought this series of books called Big Fat Notebook.
Oh
How to
wait,
ace all of your
I
classes.
think I have it. Is it? I have the Big Fat Notebook, the math one. I think isn't it?
Yeah, that's the
black
one.
and
That's
black
the
and blue,
one.
right?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I think I have it in one of my books. It's like
Yeah.
this thick, and then
Yeah,
it's
I think it has
Wow.
like this, but it's not too big. And then I think I did the whole thing in grade 6. No, only half.
Seriously?
Only
Oh,
half. There was
that's
like algebra, ratio, division,
Mm-hmm.
and something like that, and some more, I guess. But then I think in year 8 I already learned all of them, so I don't really need to look at the book anymore. So maybe that can
Yeah.
be passed on for my other siblings.
They also have a high school edition, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
no.
do.
Wait, is it grade 6? Oh no, middle school. Never mind.
Yeah, the middle school
The middle
edition.
school
That's the
one.
one I have. For those who are watching, don't be mistaken. Don't be fooled. I am not good at math at all. I just like this book because it helped me understand math a little bit more.
Yeah, they
So,
give an explanation,
mhm.
and you can also have the practices. What did you want to say?
I don't remember. Okay, wait. Let me check. What did I want to say? Wait a minute. So, right. Oh, right. I remember now. So, we're going to be talking about memorization techniques. So, since Adeline, you prefer memorization over understanding. So, I mean, at least it's easier for you to memorize. So, tell us, how do you memorize things easily? Because for those forgetful people in the world, memorization isn't that easy like you. So, tell us
Yeah, I
your
agree.
secrets.
Memorization isn't easy, even for me. Like, even though I prefer it over understanding, it obviously takes a lot of effort to memorize
Mm-hmm.
something. I think a one tip that I have is to not sort of read through the material from beginning to end as a whole, but
Uh-huh.
rather to separate the material into smaller sections
Yeah.
or parts that you can read through like one by one, because then it'll be easier for you to number one memorize the material and also understand the material rather than if you read it like the whole thing in one sitting. I
Oh, wow.
personally think that helps me.
Revolutionary. That's it. That's really smart. That's really smart. I think I'm gonna start doing that. I'm serious. Like I was that genuinely interested in how to memorize things. What about you, Gerald? What are some ways how you understand things better?
I think it would be the same as Alan, but sometimes I also relate, like what you said earlier, relate to an experience. For example, yeah, I already gave you the example. So for you can like relate with something, then you can memorize it, and then other things I memorize is, for example, I highlight. I think you make your own summary, right? And then from
Mm-hmm.
your own summary, you already understand. But then sometimes you have to read the summary over and over again. So personally, I like to use highlighter, and you highlight the most important part. Then you'll know which ones you should focus on, and which ones are the less ones that you should focus on. So then you can memorize it like what Adeline said, part by part. For example, oh, this is this, and then because of this, then it's this, something like that.
Oh, I see.
What about you?
Okay.
You don't memorize?
Um. Wait. When I study, I usually only make summaries, and then
Uh,
that summary, if it's an open book thing, then I read through the summary, and then during the test, I'm just like flipping through my summary. So that's the reason why I make summaries actually. But if I can't use a summary during class, I mean during the test, then I just try and study from the summary since what I put in the summary is usually from my own notes or from the textbook and the slides. So it's also easier for me to like memorize it or quote unquote understand it. Because when I understand something, I automatically also kind of memorize it. Even though memorization is not always my main focus, when cramming, it's a different story. I always try to go for memorization when cramming because I do that a lot, which is really bad. Because, ideally, you should study over a couple of days, not in one night, right? So yeah, like Adeline said, if you want to try and memorize something, don't just do it in one sitting. So yeah, that's definitely one thing. Um, and Gerald, how about you go to our next question, the one about myths?
um, what do you think are some common study stereotypes?
Like things that people think about
Yeah, thing.
studying, but it's actually not really true, or like about people.
That's called stereotype, right?
I don't think if this thing I'm gonna say is a stereotype or more of a myth, but I think one common thinking that people have when they study is like the more hours they study, the longer they study, like the better they will
Oh
study.
yeah.
That really depends on your studying methods and techniques that you use and if they are efficient for you personally. Because I see a lot of people, not, sorry, no. Sometimes I follow people studying techniques, and I would say that I study quite a long time, but I still don't really understand the material. But I think I've come to discover that those studying techniques don't help me personally to study more efficiently. So yeah, I think that's one studying myth people often believe in, I guess.
Yeah, so you're saying that it doesn't matter how long you study, but it matters how much you understand. Something like that,
Yeah,
right?
like the effectiveness of the
Yeah.
studying session you have. Yeah.
I see. What about you, Asa? What do you think are some study stereotypes?
Well, sorry, I think I wrote down the wrong word. It's supposed to be more like studying
Oh,
myths.
studying myths.
Anyways, sorry about that. So stereotypes is something that, like, I guess about a certain type of person. But it's
Ah,
if we're gonna talk about people studies, people stereotypes, it's like physically, glasses kids. Sometimes people think, wow, if you wear glasses, you must be studious. But in reality, they just like play games all night long.
yeah, because yeah,
Yeah.
you can use
Um.
there's a couple of reasons why you use glasses. First of all,
Mhm.
there's like you either study too much, you read books too much, and
Mhm.
then your eyes get like some. Wait, is it minus or plus if you read something too close?
I think it's minus. I think.
Or is it
I
plus?
wouldn't.
Actually, I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah, so basically, I think one of them is reading too close. Another one is you see too far or something, and another one is you stare at the screen too much. I think a lot of people in online they use. Some of my friends use glasses now, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think online school has increased the amount of people using glasses.
Yeah, just imagine the optic lenses, or like, what do you call that? Those glasses people, business companies are definitely, yeah, definitely.
They're
But then,
earning more.
do you use anti-radiation glasses though? That's a bit different.
Yeah, that's a bit different. I think that one filters the blue light
Yeah, yeah.
from the device. I use glasses, but mine is the minus glasses,
Mm.
not
Shade.
the blue light glasses.
Yeah, shades are a bit different. They're like
Shades. Ah, so we put a story on our. This is like just a reminder. Basically, our YouTube channel. I mean, our Instagram. We have two Instagrams. So Gerald, go ahead, write it in the
yep.
chat box. So we have two Instagrams. Our first Instagram is jiics.jhsc. That's our main student council Instagram. And then our second one for the Tea During Quarantine Talk Show specifically is called Tea During Quarantine Talk Show. So that's our Instagram account. Basically, if you follow our Instagram account, you would know that we occasionally post stories, and we have things like quizzes. I don't know if you can see that, quizzes, Tea During Quarantine Talk Show Season 1. We have some updates, and then we have polls. So if you click on our polls, we ask questions and like things too. So this time we asked a question on what are some myths you have about studying, or what are some stereotypes you have about studying, or also what are some questions you have about studying. So for those people who have questions about studying, or maybe some myths that you have about studying, feel free to go and write those myths or questions in the polls, and we'll try and answer them now. If you don't have Instagram, just go and comment them in the chat box, and we'll go over and discuss some of those. And we'll discuss some of those myths and questions you have about studying. So go ahead and fill the chat box so that, in a while we can get to those questions about studying and can dive deeper and talk more about studying, because studying's so great, don't you think, Adeline?
I totally think so.
Yeah, I know, right? So, going as far to studying myths, a myth that so we actually did get a response on our Instagram about a studying myth. So let me go ahead and read that real quick. Wait a minute. Okay, so we got one myth called chewing bubblegum can make you get, I think she wrote better grades. What do you think about this? Chewing bubblegum can get you better grades.
I plead
heard
the
about this. Yeah, you can go
No,
first,
no,
Gerald.
you can go first. You can go first.
I've heard about this one actually, but it was way back in elementary. I think it was in grade 6 or something. Me and my friends, we used to chew gum in class, which was obviously not allowed. But then when the teacher would like ask us to like throw the gum away, we'd be like, like, why can't we chew gum in class? Like, we heard it stimulates your brain and helps you focus better. I've heard about that, but I'm not sure if it's entirely true.
Oh, wait a minute. Seriously. Okay, wait. Let's go check that on Mr. Google real quick.
Yeah,
Chewing
I heard that
bubble.
it like increases your productivity or creativity. I think I read it once about
Okay,
when you chew gum.
that's
But
Seriously?
personally, I'd be distracted because it's your mouth that's chewing, and it's not yeah. My focus would be on the gum itself and the flavor of the gum rather than studying. So I don't think it'll work for me because I've never tried gum before. I think
You've never tried gum before?
chewing gum, right? That thing where you just chew on it. No,
Yeah.
never.
It's
Oh,
basically the
really?
same like bubble gum, but
Oh, isn't
So
bubble
you've
gum like
never
that?
had bubblegum?
Oh wait, no.
Really?
I don't
wow.
think so. I don't think I was allowed. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I just ate candy a lot, but I never ate bubble gum because of stories that I've heard.
Stories. So you were technically like kind of scared to eat bubble gum,
No,
or
not
you were
really. I
just
just
not allowed?
I don't. I think it's not allowed for me, and
Yeah,
I
me
wouldn't
too.
really eat it as well because
Yeah.
I'm afraid to choke on it.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah,
see.
that's why.
Yeah, I think I wasn't. I also wasn't really allowed to eat bubble gum. You know, when I was in like in elementary. So, speaking on the topic, this is like way off topic. But speaking on the topic of choking, my friend actually said that she once choked on boba.
Oh yeah, because if you think boba are quite small, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like 1 centimeter small. So then if you like drink it too fast, it can go into like the wrong tube, and it goes inside into your lungs.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really scary if you say it like that.
Yeah, and then you have to spit it out.
Yeah.
You
That's
know
why they
someone who's experienced that? You know
no,
someone who's
I don't know.
experienced that?
I just watched videos about it.
Oh, I see, I
Because
see.
when I drink boba, this is very out of topic, but when I drink boba, I remember last time I think in grade 6 someone had a birthday and they shared boba with the entire class, right? And
Uh-huh.
I wasn't really fond of the boba itself, so I just drank the entire drink, and then everyone was like, "Can I have your boba?" And then I'm like, dude, there's my saliva on it."
Oh, I see. It was a real craze back then.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me check the chat box. Is there any questions about studying? No questions yet. We're still waiting, guys. Maybe just make up some questions. Let's see. What questions? When you first. Okay, let me ask this. So, in elementary, did you actually study? Like, did you actually study? Maybe with a tutor? Did you have a tutor? Did you go to course? Did you actually study when you were in elementary? Because we're all in junior high now, right? So,
I did actually study in grade 1 until grade 4. No, I think until grade 3. My mom helped me study. Like she would help me review for the test. She would ask me to read through the material, but she would test me on it.
oh,
But-
that's a good. That's
Yeah. In grade 4, I started studying by myself. I think.
I see.
I don't
That
know
is-
if it's grade 4 or 5, but yeah.
That's different for me. Well, mine says I think okay, I'm just gonna divide my studying methods into two. There's the one pre-corona and past corona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so before corona, the tests are all offline, right? So there's almost no way you can cheat because in online there's like so much ways you can cheat. I'm not supporting it or telling it.
No, we're not
Yeah,
supporting
I'm not
cheating,
supporting it.
guys. Honesty is policy. Don't cheat.
Yeah. So back then, since I knew that the tests they're offline, right? So you can't cheat. Which is what I said earlier. So now that I'll study like 1 week before, and then usually my mom would help me from like grade 1 to grade 5. So she'd teach me. We go in like a table, and she'd tell me the summary and teach me. For example, you can do this, do that, and then like Adeline said, my mom also gave me practices. She would make her own practice. I think last time was like 11 pages, 10 pages.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, for like three kids, and then like she would write all she would write the questions, and then we had to answer them. Then even if we're wrong, then she teaches us again. But sometimes I get a bit grumpy when I'm wrong because I'm like, oh, why do I have to keep doing this? It's like 11 pages wrong, and I get like 5 mistakes, and they're the hard ones, and it so. But then later I realized that it became like really helpful because in grade 6, my parents let me go from like grade 1 to grade 6, I had like private tutor, so only my private tutor taught me. In grade 6, my mom left me. No, wait, no, she still taught me until grade 6, and then when Corona started, then she just let me go. So then from then I studied myself, and those are like my pure grades, quote unquote pure grades, you can say, because
Pure
yeah,
grades.
if someone helps you, it's more likely you'll understand the material more, right? Because you have someone teach it to you, they already understand, so they teach you what they understand. But then like, if you study yourself, then it's sort of like your own pure grades then, because if you get some help from others, then it's basically not 100% entirely your own grades, if you know what I mean, right?
I understand what you mean, but also I think if someone helps you, it's not that it's not your like pure grades, but
Yeah.
it's like they technically enhance your grades.
Mm.
So like thanks to them, you also got to do something like it better, right? So like for my studying history, it's kind of I don't know, different or something. I don't know. Let's just say when I got to grade 7, I realized that studying actually exists and that you need to do like, I'm not saying I didn't study before, but when I was from around like grade 1 until grade 4, I don't really remember how I even survived, to be honest. I only remember occasionally my dad, he would mostly help me with studying, with like math and stuff like that. But a lot of times I would just grow so, I don't want to do this anymore. Or like, I don't want to study with my dad. I had that thought a lot. Sorry, Papa. But at a point, my dad also started telling me, okay, you need to take notes during class, because before I didn't do that. You need to take notes during class, and you need to also start making summaries so you can study with those summaries. And then in the beginning, I was very reluctant to making summaries because I was like, do I need to really make summary of literally everything I learned? But now that's basically my go-to when I'm trying to cram and, panicking to study for a test. I usually do that. So that's really helpful. And I started doing that around grade 5. I started taking notes during class. And at that point, people were having like competitions of taking notes during class. I don't
Really?
Really?
Yeah. They had like competitions on like who could take the most notes, who could write down the fastest and stuff like
Then
that.
there's
And I
that
was
one
like,
student.
okay.
There's that one student who writes every single word the teacher says. Hello,
Yes.
class. And then their notebooks get killed in like one entire day. Then they have to buy
Yeah,
another one.
exactly.
But I
So
don't
we
think I
got
did
one
that though.
question, by the way. From OB Vlogs, do you guys prefer memorizing or counting? Not sure what you mean by that, but are you talking about math?
I think talking.
Oh, I think maybe they mean in general. Do we prefer like the subjects that we need to calculate in, or the subjects that we just need to memorize in?
Let's just take it in both ways. So how about you, Adeline?
Generally, I think I prefer subjects without calculations.
Me too.
And then what's the other way again?
Memorizing. Oh wait. Oh, I meant. So do you like? Oh, he's talking about math. So, do you
Oh.
prefer memorizing math, probably like multiplication, or prefer counting mathematical like multiplication? I guess.
Definitely memorization for me. I really suck at calculating.
I'm bad at both, so I can only do calculating.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know. We learned the multiplication tables from like 1 to 9, and 1 to 12 in like elementary, right?
yeah.
Yeah, from
I have to
then on,
memorize.
I had this math lesson. Like what I said, I think the way I study is also from them. So they use like songs.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So for
nice.
wow.
example, there's a song about. I think every time I go to lesson, I have to sing the entire thing from 1 to 12.
Wow.
1 times like 1 1 2 1 2 1 2 2 1 3 3, something like that, and then it goes all the way until 12. And then after
Wow.
that, they also give us like this workbook. It's called CMA. Do you know what that is?
No.
Oh,
Is
you
that the
can
name
search
of
it.
your lesson?
Yeah,
Or the
but back
book?
then
Oh.
the name, and then so there's like this thing. It's using abacus. You know what abacus
Oh,
is?
yes. I
Yeah. So
know
we
that.
used to count it. I don't know how I forget how to use it now and how to read it now, but back then, I think that's why my math was decent back then because I know how to use this stuff. So sometimes instead of memorizing, I'd count it using the abacus, which is much
What is
faster.
that?
It's
It's
like
kind of like a calculator, right?
yeah, it's like a
Almost like
calculator,
calculator.
but it's like a hand thing. So basically,
Yeah.
let's say these this is the abacus. There's like these tiny brown things
Yeah.
that's like on a stand thing. Then you can move it up and down, move it up and down. I think you've seen it. Here, let me just search it up in Google. So basically,
interesting.
yeah, you can count like 1,000, for example, 1,679 times 100, 1,085, and you already can get the answer in like 3 seconds. Yeah,
Wow.
I used to be able to do that, but
My
then I quit that
siblings.
lesson. Something
Oh.
like this here. Let me just show you.
And while you're looking for it, I'll read the other question. What do you think about listening to music during your study time? Oh wow, I've never
Yes,
seen
I've
that in
seen
my life.
those. My siblings used to go to lesson. I was the only one who didn't because I didn't really want to.
I see. Yeah, I've never had tutors courses before, so I wouldn't really know what they do then. I've only done piano and violin. And in the beginning, I did Bahasa, but then eventually all of my teachers slowly had other things to do. So, yeah. I wonder what it would be like if I actually had a math tutor, but now I'm okay because I highly depend on one of my friends. I highly depend on him to help me with every single math. So I think I'll survive until year 9.
Yeah, I usually do study groups. Do you do study groups?
Oh, what about you, Adeline? You do study groups?
Not really. I prefer studying alone, but occasionally I study with my older sister. I don't think that's counted because it's only 2 people, but most of the times I prefer studying alone, especially for tests. But if it's just doing assignments, then I can definitely do study groups.
Right, that would be the same for me because if it's test and you call with your friend, especially if it's your best friend, you get distracted. You're gonna talk about
Yeah.
other things. For example,
Exactly.
then you're like, come on, let's focus back. But then eventually you're completely blank already. So yeah, usually I call with some of my friends, specifically like a group, and we like discuss assignments together, and then sometimes we argue about the answer, and like saying like why is that this, why is that this. But then I think
Yeah,
it's more
yeah,
helpful because
yeah.
it helps you understand more.
Yeah.
I think,
Maybe.
yeah, studying groups can be very helpful at times. But let's just say, before I actually started studying study groups, I didn't really like it because I felt like it would probably not waste of time, but I never really considered it a thing that I would actually really do. I just like doing stuff by myself. But then I entered like year 7 and people kept on asking me like, do you want to study with me? And I was like, okay. So I started studying with people, right? And sometimes it was helpful, sometimes definitely not. Right now, I am in a study group, and I'm definitely in the first few times we met up to study, it did help at times. But we talk about so many random stuff. And if you're watching that and you're in the study group, I'm not saying I don't like our study group. I'm just saying we need to keep on topic at times. And that's the problem I have in seriously every single group project. But point is, studying groups are great if you have people who actually know how to help you. If you're gonna be the one who's helping others, that's even better actually, because when you teach something, it's easier for you to remember that, right? Because you have that experience. Like we talked about linking experiences with certain topics. So when you have that experience of teaching someone that subject, you're gonna know the subject because in order to teach it to someone else, you'll have to know it. So automatically, when you teach it to someone else, you'll know the subject. So you'll be reminded of that experience and also how to teach it. So I think it's very helpful to teach. And being in a studying group is great, but if that's not your preference, don't do it because it's not going to help. If it's really not your preference, don't do it. And don't be like you're being forced. Like if your friends force you to join a study group and you don't want to, don't join because it's not going to help you in your grades. That's something you need to know. Like peer pressure is a real thing, and don't feel pressurized to study with your friends if you really don't want to. And for those friends who force your friends to study with you, don't force your friends. It's gonna bring their grades down. And if you have intentions like that, that's sad. But Gerald, we have a question about music. How about you ask us that question?
Okay, so It said here. What do you think about listening music during your study time?
I personally am not bothered by it. Um, Usually when I study, I do listen to music myself. Um, I do agree that sometimes some people say that they cannot focus with the songs that have lyrics in them, so they listen to like lo-fi or just instrumental
Mm-hmm.
instead. It doesn't really bother me as long as I keep the volume like really low. For studying for tests, I usually do listen to like lo-fi or instrumental music rather than songs with lyrics. But if I'm just doing assignments, I really don't think it bothers me to listen to songs with no lyrics. That's my opinion.
Mm,
I see. Yeah.
well, for me, if I listen to music, after like 10 minutes, I stopped studying and I instead like play the guitar instead, like with the song. So it doesn't. I'm distracted by it. I can't really focus.
Yeah. I had like a similar experience, except I used to listen to a lot of music while studying when I was in like year 7. I got really into lo-fi when we went into quarantine. I got really into lo-fi, and it's kind of sounded like depressing music sometimes because they were like kind of like the sad songs, you know. But yeah, I think it's really great actually because um, what do you call that? Music, I guess it kind of stimulates your brain, but I heard that especially classical music like Mozart and Beethoven, like their classical music actually is good for your brain. So I also started listening to that when I was maybe a year ago. Yeah, I guess it's pretty good for your brain. Oh, and also one more thing I want to say. When I was in year 8, I had this teacher, and he told us that in his previous school, what they did was that they would watch a movie before the day of their test. And I was like really interested by this that he told us this, and I was like, "Oh, really? That's really interesting." And he said it's because it like stimulates your brain.
Oh, really? I've never heard about that
Is it like
before.
chewing gum that you mentioned earlier before?
No, I actually don't know. Oh, about chewing gum. Wait, I'll tell you in a while what I found. But about the watching movies before your day of the test. I'm not saying you should watch a movie before every single test you have, but I think what he was trying to say is that it does stimulate your brain, but also you need a rest. You rest is so important before the day of the test. Rest is so important before the day of the test. Remember that. Because when I cram before I have a test and I go to sleep at like 2 a.m., I realize during the test I kind of have the tendency to fall asleep. And that's scary because you don't want to, wake up and realize the
Yeah.
test is done and then you can't submit your answer. So it's really important. So yeah, once again, I'm not saying you should go and watch movies, binge watch some series on Netflix the whole night. Just saying you should rest. So yeah.
Okay, I think we have another question in the chat from the chat box.
Go ahead, read it.
Are you a day or night person in regards to your effective study time?
Wow. I'm actually probably a night person. As much as I hate having to like sleep deprive myself at night, I'm not sure why I work more effectively at night than I do in the day. I tend to get distracted more easily during the day. So yeah, I think that's my reasoning behind that.
Yeah, I choose night because well, yeah, in the morning I don't really study during weekends. Okay, I do like on Sunday, but then it's usually I watch a movie on Sunday. Then I go study. So it's like usually in the afternoon or night. So then I think I get used to that because in the morning I usually you go to school, right? And then there's not like you can't really study, I guess. So and after school I don't really study as much because from then on I want to take a break, or for example call my friends to have fun, or do something productive else. And then after I take a bath, then you have feel like some energy. Then I use that energy to like study. But then that's like later in the night, 6 to 7 p.m. ish, around that time.
For me, I actually usually study at night, but I don't really specifically like it because it makes me nervous. Like the reason why, for some reason, some people are more effective to study at night is because you feel that pressure, like, okay, I need to finish this, I need to finish this. So that's probably why you're more effective. Personally, I don't really like that feeling. That's why I like studying in the afternoon, but I also don't really do that either because of procrastination. My best
I
friend.
agree. I also do that too.
Yeah, I know. That's what I struggle with, but I like studying during the afternoon. And if it's in the morning, no, thank you. I rather do assignments in the morning, like assignments,
Mhm.
But I don't really wake up in the morning anyway, so that's another thing. Oh, and about the bubble gum, bubble gum actually improves your memory.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, it says that chewing gum boosts blood flow to your brain, which may help improve your memory.
That's really cool. I might start doing that.
Yeah,
Excuse to eat gum.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right?
Mom,
So
it
surprised.
helps me. Let me eat gum.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
So, one more thing I want to say before we're gonna conclude this talk show in a while, but since the topic and the title of this video is "Let's make studying fun and easy," I shall not clickbait you and actually discuss that topic. So, how do you think you can make studying fun and easy, guys? How do you make it that fun and easy?
I wouldn't say that there are any techniques that I use to make, well, I guess there are some techniques that make studying easier. I haven't discovered any yet, but there are some techniques that I've used, or more like methods that I've used to make studying more bearable, like taking breaks obviously, or even like snacking while I'm studying.
Yeah,
That has
I
helped
know
me
you
to
do
like
that.
stay awake
Yeah,
and
crackers.
yeah, like feel less burdened to study.
What do you snack on?
Snacks like fruits or
Me too.
chips and stuff like
Yeah, me too. Love doing that. Fruit snacks, great.
that. Yeah.
Well, for me, how I make studying fun and easy is yeah, I mentioned it earlier in the beginning. Use games, and then you give yourself like a little treat, and then from that on you have like something to um. I think what the main problem for most people is they don't have the motivation to study. So
Right.
lack of motivation. I think that's one of the main leading causes that you don't study as hard. But personally, for me, I use like that little treat I mentioned earlier. You give yourself a reward, and in the end, you put an end goal, or you and put a vision first, or you give your like yourself a little treat, and then from then on, you have that motivation, and because you have that motivation, it makes everything you worry less about things. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but in that sense, when you worry less about things, then you want to dig deeper, and you're not afraid to make mistakes because you know that those mistakes it's not that's no one's perfect, and if you make mistakes, that's just a human thing because from the mistakes you can learn how to do it properly rather than you don't make any mistake, you answer it all correct, but you don't know anything, you don't know how to do it properly, and in the test they do it totally different questions, and you don't know how to fix it or fix a mistake in the test. It's something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
yeah. That's why I believe making mistakes is also important in like that process. That you actually remember, oh, this is a mistake I made.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when someone else makes the same mistake, you can help that person. I think that's one of the very important things when studying. And on making studying fun and easy, studying's not exactly easy sometimes. It depends on what you're studying. If you like a certain subject, it's going to be easier. Let me just tell you, it's going to be easier. That's why every time I'm going into a lesson that I don't specifically love, I try to go into that lesson and think, okay, it's going to be okay. It's going to be for a while. I can do this. It's going to be fun. It's kind of like a trick in my brain. Like, okay, let's do this positively. Let's do this with excitement. I can do this so that I will feel more motivated and I will actually want to study in that lesson, or actually want to study. It really helps me at times because I'll think like, oh, maybe in the future I won't be able to do this anymore. Or maybe I'll regret if I don't actually do this. That's why studying is, in that sense, it's really important to go in with a positive mindset. And if you can't do that, fake it until you make it. Fake that positive mindset because who knows, psychology. When you fake laugh, your brain actually thinks you're happy, stuff like that. So positive mindset is definitely one of the key points to studying and will definitely help you because when I was younger, when I was like in grade 1 and stuff, I first started learning how to read in English. And I still remember I was reading one of the first English books, like one of my grammar. Okay, I was reading this book about a fat rat, and I was reading it and I was crying because it was so frustrating. I couldn't understand it. But when I got into it, and that's why I didn't really like reading in grade 1. But when I got to grade 2, honestly, I started kind of liking reading because someone that I also kind of wanted to be friends with liked reading too. So that's what got me into reading. Point is, positive mindsets are a great help. Don't go into situations with a sour heart because it's not going to make it any better.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Longest
There's no more-
silence we've had so far.
There's no more questions in the chat box.
Oh, are
No,
there more
there's
questions?
No, there's no more.
Let me see if somebody decided to go onto our Instagram and answer the question. Let's see. Nope, no more. Oh, by the way, a few weeks ago on our first one, I asked, "What do you want us to talk about on our next talk show?" If you want to answer our polls, please do answer our polls. They're right over here. You can just click on that polls, and it's gonna look like this. And then when you go to next, we asked, what do you want us to talk about in our next polls? Please do comment on our Instagram or comment on our videos and tell us what you want us to talk about. Apparently, somebody said that he wants us to talk about ducks. So who knows? Maybe we'll grant your wish one day.
One day.
One day.
Okay, then I think that's it for today.
Outro? So thanks guys so much for watching to During Quarantine Talk Show Season 2 Episode 3. Thanks for joining us, those 12 people, or was it 11, I don't know, 15 people who actually watched until the end. We super appreciate it so much. For eternity, forever and always, I don't know what I'm saying. So let's wrap up this talk show and please watch us again. We'll probably have a second episode later on this month. Definitely not in the next week. Definitely maybe later on this month. We'll probably post some things, maybe some YouTube shorts or some IG shorts, reels, and follow us. The socials, and we'll see you soon on our next episode. Bye.
Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for being there. Also, thanks to Adeline for being
Thank you so much, Adeline, for joining us.
Bye.
It's been great.